Dre, Free Shook Knight.
NK music on the track. NK music on the track.
In the flesh, return. Come from Atlantis through the Imhotep step. Initiated as a god, earn my stripes in respect. It's the return of the gods. This world is a facade. Life is a dream. The American mirage. Indiana Jones in the raid of the lost ark. Whoa, for art, ancient arts. Watch the movie They Live. Roddy Piper. Blade is a classic. Do you believe in vampires? I am the original Willy Wonka. Welcome to my knowledge factory. Only God and goddesses allowed on my faculty. If you try to challenge me, Mortal Kombat fatality. I am the royal bloodline of the Anunnaki. Ladies say I'm handsome, they give me sloppy toppy. Good vibrations, turn up your frequency. Mario Brothers, eat a magic mushroom with me. Good vibrations, turn up your frequency. Mario Brothers, eat a magic mushroom with me. I'm surfing on the tidal wave, I'm swimming with the dolphins. I'm out of my sarcophagus, some release me from my coffin. Thief from the police, overthrow the government. Eat a magic mushroom, that's the secret to the mothership.
All aboard! It is time to hop aboard my spaceship, because you are now tuned into What is the Matrix? I am your host, Jason Elm Street Williams, master of the universe. And tonight, before we get into, is this a simulation? Are we living in a Matrix hologram? Are the cities that we live in actually a motherboard in the buildings representing energy centers? Are human bodies simply a spacesuit to experience this video game? Movies like The Truman Show, Total Recall, giving us clues like Ready Player One. So everyone watching this, I want you to go and watch the movie Westworld. It's old, but this is what we're living in. And then it shows you how under the ground and behind certain mountains, so certain mountains that you see aren't real. They're fake. And that's where the computers are. When you go underground in certain cities, you'll see that there's computers, and they'll tell you about this. So basically in Westworld, they actually have computers and people controlling the robots like they control society today with TVs and media and food, and it controls the way people think, it controls the way people act. So if a person believes in God and Jesus, they're going to do certain things. If a person is only taught that they're a slave and this, they're going to act out these certain things. So basically, when you understand Westworld, you'll understand society. And so you're leaving, JoJo, or are you just saying you're going to sleep? Peace out, brother. So basically, Westworld.
Love you, brother. I just didn't want to interrupt you in the middle of what you were saying, man.
Leave us with something about the simulation.
Question everything and really just use your eyes. And most importantly, use the eye that none of us can see. And I'm sure that, like we said about the pineal gland, you'll expose the truth, but you just got to look hard enough.
Peace and love, brother.
One love.
Peace out, JoJo.
So right here in Westworld, y'all, they're talking about where robot men. So basically, there's robots who look like humans, and the woman, just like you learn about Epstein Island and how they treated women. So this is where the kidnapped people go when they make movies about how people get kidnapped, and then they'll take prisoners and drop them off on a land and they get hunted, or they tell you about black women who were kidnapped and they were dropped off when they woke up and it was the slave time, like they teach them in the schools like antebellum time. Huh?
We saw a movie like that. I can't remember the name of that movie.
It was
but
like
there was
go ahead.
Yeah, these girls were on an island, and they were being wine and dined, having a great time. I think they met these guys at an airport, and they lured them in to go to an island. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's really good. Long story short, they were drugging these girls up. They were drugging everybody up on this island, and they were doing all kinds of things to them, horrible things to them. And then
it's called Watch Out or Speak Out. What's the guy's name who played in Magic Mike? I could type it up.
I can't remember the name of
the
it.
Wife, excuse me, the
If
Irish.
somebody's here and they're watching this, type it in the comments. But yeah,
It's the white dude from Magic Mike.
Okay. Yeah, but the girl would wake up and her fingernails were dirty. She had bruises on her body. She couldn't figure out how, because they were partying. They were doing drugs. They were drinking. Obviously they were putting something in their drink. And the next thing you know, the girls would pass out and they were doing all kinds of things to them. I mean, horrific things to them. And then they would wake up the next day thinking that they were on this beautiful island with all these rich people. And this kept happening over and over and over again. So it's kind of like
Blink Twice.
What is it called?
Blink Twice.
Blink Twice. Must see. Definitely. That will give you an idea of what this simulation is like and how they put us to sleep every day using the media, using laptops, whatever. They use that to put us to sleep every single day. So when we wake up, we just wake up, we go to work, we come home, we go to sleep. We wake up, we go to work, we come home, we go to sleep. Like every day it's the same shit. And at some point somebody's gonna be like, yo, this can't be life. And I've heard people say that this can't be life. And you're right, it's not. Now that you said that, that you got to start unraveling things. You got to unravel it, get to the root of the problem, because the more you dive into these simulations, you're going to get lost. Like Jason was talking about, you're going to get lost. And that's the objective of the enemy, is to continuously keep you distracted so that you can't get back to the base, to the beginning, to the root.
There you go.
And the key is to go into nature.
There you go. And the movie's called Blink Twice. And like she said, like you get lost. And that's what Westworld ended up being about. How the robot became conscious, and then it became, what was the difference between the robot when she became sentient, which eventually will happen, and then what's the difference between us as organic robots when we go online? So we are those organic robots who are going online, and we're figuring out that we're in a maze, and within the maze to the right you see the all-seeing eye, right? And then eventually you'll see it's a man, it's an Endincra code, it's a matrix code. And it's telling you once again in this that it's a matrix. We're living in a matrix hologram, and they use the technology. So those 5G towers, y'all, that you see that look like trees sometimes, there's also a tree of life that they say would stick out of the North Pole. Or if you look at Mesoamerican type of hieroglyphs or petroglyphs, it's a big cross, just like in the sky, but they call it either the tree of life. I would say that's that antenna that you see up top, because at the last season of Westworld, that's the revelation, is that this antenna is what's sending out the signals. So just like those 5G towers in the movie They Live, when they started putting those small little satellite things on the lights, and then it became the towers, then the 5G towers. Those 5G towers are not just cell phone towers. Those are sending frequencies and subliminal messages to us, disrupting us from getting the original organic nature downloads from what we would call the Akashic records. And so they're using technology to disrupt us from getting these downloads that are crucial right now. That's why they keep using distractions for our sisters, our women, putting instead of the brain thing that I showed you guys earlier, the brain cap that you're able to download information like our ancestors did, they're doing that now. But our sisters, they got them with the weave. So instead of downloading information like a Neuralink, they're downloading information of dead Indian hair, dead horse hair, porcelain, and poisonous, cancerous chemicals when our sisters wear these weaves. So they're getting downloads from that. So that's why they're acting a certain way. You see, just like I'm sure brothers when they were rocking that Soul Glow, and that went out of style. You feel me? I wonder how the studies were with that. And that's why probably in Boys in the Hood, the brother had a Jerry curl. Or the brothers with Jerry curls were probably tripping and acting a fool at one time. Like to learn about those studies. But like Lana was saying, the maze. What is the maze? It's Sirius. It's the pineal gland. It's Osiris, Horus, Haru, Horus, the horizon, the hour, Set, the sun sets. These are all Kemet words. Set, the sun. You get it? And that's why they try to cover up that with Jesus, the Son of God, instead of you looking at it as you being the Christ. So like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the movie was showing you he could come as a millionaire, a sports agent, a basketball player, a secret agent. There were different categories. So for me, that means the more coins that you pick up in life, probably doing for me righteous things, the more coins you collect, not their money, like their coins to get all this material stuff. No, the universal coins that you collect. So you're able to go to different matrices after you leave this so-called avatar, and then you could be a god on this planet instead of, oh, you fucked up. You can't be, you got to come back a dog. Or your only option will be a dog or a cat, or, you know, certain options if you don't obtain the real current and currency. And what is a current? A currency is a frequency, but they currency exchange. So we're currency exchanging right now, but they change that with money currency. So our money is doing the righteous things, the knowledge that gets us out of the maze. But if we don't even know we're in a maze, it's possibly you can die and not ever get out. And that's for me personally. I feel like I've woken up and I'm like, damn, I've been here a million years. I've plugged in like a million times. I did this, I did this. I remember doing this. I'm not from, and then I remember I'm like, dog, I'm in a video game. I plugged in here and I don't remember how to get out. And I feel either people trip out, and that's when the suicide, the drugs, the alcohol, or people run to the church. Because if you figure it out and there's nowhere to go in society, your neighbor, whether now you can't even talk to your neighbor, let alone a deep conversation, let alone they got people arguing about Trump who are fake characters in the game who they don't even know and probably never will even freaking meet. You know? So it's like it's they've made it to where the future. So now look at the kids. So imagine if you're a kid. So people watching, if you have a child, or if you're a teacher and look at the kids less intelligent, just like we're probably less intelligent than our moms and blah, blah, blah. It goes, the further you go back to the future, it's futuristic. So if right now, if they're dumbing down society, which they have done, and you can see it now, imagine 10 years from now, the kids who are going to have kids, because the babies already had babies this generation. We come from that generation of the kids who were crack babies who we went to school with, you know what I'm saying? And then the gang banging kids. And then now we got the stripper culture, the hip hop culture. So now we're going to see where we're seeing it now with the drill music. The drill music babies are the babies from the parents who listen to Snoop Dogg, gang banging music. The babies who listen to Little Kim and Trina. Now there's girls having babies who listen to Cardi Red, Sexy Red. Now men or black boys are having babies from Chief Keef. And then their babies are going to have babies. And then next it'll be auto-tune and AI robots, meaning that it won't even have a soul behind it. They'll be able to use Michael Jackson's voice or Prince's voice. They'll be able to use one of these artists that they've killed voice and tone and frequency that they have locked in, because all the main artists are built to copy. So when you listen to all the R&B singers, most of them sound like this, or when you hear Snoop talk like this, it's because the bars taught me this. I won't say which one. They had it stuck on a frequency of Michael Jackson, so no one would ever be able to pass that. So they could control the sales, so they could control the music. When I say sales, your sales and the record sales, so they could forever make money off of these artists. That's why it's important to own your masters, because you're the master of the universe. So if they control your masters, your voice, your likeness, then they can trap you like they did Henrietta Lacks with her sales. They can use your voice and soon your consciousness to trap it in the matrix hologram and keep you somehow trapped here, even if you so-called die. And that's why they're using these mainstream artists to convince you, well, T-Pain sold his masters. I might as well sell my consciousness in 10 years. Because it's going to be an option, y'all, for the rich to want to experience your life, because you are the God. You are the celebrity. You are the superstar, not the people who you see on TV. They did wicked things. That's the term that people in Hollywood will do anything for fame. But there's some of us who made it to certain levels and we didn't do it. So when we look at these so-called celebrities, to you guys, they're cool. But to those of us who know, they're demons and devils who did things that you can't say you wouldn't do in front of your mom, because certain people were raised wrong. So you're dealing with people who will murder, poison you, all for fame, because they've been tricked or manipulated, or their entity, or they're part of the matrix to cause the yin and yang or the imbalance of you not being able to reach your higher self, because they too have been manipulated to make you think that the highest pinnacle is to be part of their circus, whether it's an actor, a basketball player, all these different jobs and positions in society that make their dream tick. Meanwhile, the jobs that you do are meaningless. All these things that you've been led to believe have purpose, have no purpose if it doesn't lead to a quantum freedom, to where your cells are unlocked. So what's that called when your cells are unlocked? It's no longer a cell. You're vibrating, you're free. So that would mean that these cities are built to either make you vibrate on a higher level, or it can harness your energy. And that's why most people do not travel outside of their circumference. This is why the planes are falling out of the sky, because eventually when you wake up, you're going to want to travel to the centers of the hologram, like the Giza pyramid. But what do our people say? Oh, I don't want to go to Africa. I can go on YouTube and go to Egypt. I don't have to go to Africa. Just like people don't have to fix the hood. They don't have to fix the hood because they can listen to 50 Cent or Dr. Dre every freaking day and think that they're listening to some hood stuff, and then manipulate the black kids to make music about celebrating the poverty, the stricken, the pain, the depression in that, because it's been glorified by a group of people who are vampires. And they harness off of that energy, and they can only live off of that misery. And so they have to make it look good to you. So they can't tell you who you are, because if you knew you are a god, a super Heru or Heru or hero. You would not go to school. You would not participate in Jesus worship. You would not believe in God. You would create your own reality with like-minded beings. You would create it. And so that's what they don't want, especially when you can use a template, which we see in the hieroglyphs. And then when we look at the stones and the structures, we see the Fibonacci sequence and code within the statues. So when we look at these statues, it's not just someone molding it. No, it says a mathematical code. So that means that we and our ancestors left these things. So I would say that a lot of these things are energy portals, energy sources. So like there's a light, you could probably walk around with these and press a button and it'll light up, or it'll like a crystal, it'll give you some type of information like computers. So like crystals are computers, I guarantee there were machines to where you could actually get the knowledge from this living being called a crystal, the cries of El, you know. So within this crystal, they make their laptops and stuff. So imagine when we could create a machine and tap into this information. That's the distractions that they don't want us to do in nature. So we're supposed to be building on that. Our schools from 2nd grade, 4th grade, we're supposed to be learning about crystals, algorithms in the Indinka codes, because that's what these hieroglyphs are. It's all leading us out the maze, which is like a different dimension, y'all. And it shows us in the Truman Show right here that there's an exit. And they say stage exit for a reason, because it's all staged. It's staged because we're on the world stage, and they want you to stay on the stage and look at their celebrities and their stars to distract you from knowing that you're the star and they're watching you. That's why when you learn you're a great underground artist, back in the day, the bars would be like, yo, bro, do not give your CDs to these celebrities. And a certain one I gave to, and he got mad. It was my song called You, baby, nothing on you, baby. And the bar was like, he's gonna steal it. He was like, he's gonna steal your song. And a few months later, or less than a year later, my song was on the radio. And so that lets you know that a lot of these so-called celebrities aren't the talent. They have to steal. And not only do they have to steal other people's talent, they'll steal their knowledge. Like you see on YouTube, you see a flood of everyone being conscious, but they're really just regurgitating other people's information. They're not the true God. So a lot of the people who are running the conscious community and the celebrity conscious people, those are agents. That's why they were on certain TV stations with people who are in prison. You feel me? July, August, September, October, November, Jason, there's only one, you know. So at the end of the day, the True Man Show is showing us that there's ladders. To getting up out of the matrix through knowledge. And look at the boat, y'all. Look at the bottom. Who are we? Moors and Moors. We don't even sail the oceans anymore. So look at that. It just came to me. So yachts and cruises. Our goal has been taught to get on a boat. Maybe if you're even on that level, boats and yachts. We used to own yachts. When we learn about Abu Bukhari, imagine our cruise ships. So imagine the different land masses where we make contact. That's why they have the Navy, y'all, because they don't want us traveling the oceans. I heard it's illegal to get in certain ships and go certain places. Why? That's why they show you the movie King Kong in the Lost Island, where there were these prehistoric beings. They're showing you Jurassic Park. They're showing you all these movies where if you have $1 trillion, you can experience something outside of this reality. Because like Lana was saying, this isn't it. And the more money you make in their monopoly game, you can travel to different land masses. The problem is that you have to participate in those land masses. And clearly from what we've been hearing, it's wicked. So imagine the righteous land masses. So when we hear about Epstein Island, imagine the righteous island. You feel me? Where it's imagine, and that's where they don't want us to go, to use our magi. Or the magi, what did the magi do in Kemet in Egypt? The magi were what? The Pharaoh's security. The magi, M-A-G-I, and they will perform what? Magic, which is science. So the the magi is, once again, you are my guy, the magic. And you know they had to have urban magic. So Magic Johnson, Los Angeles, it all comes from out here too. And that's why they had to have Hollywood here, because Hollywood sits on top of an ancient civilization. So clearly, if they do wicked stuff in Hollywood, you can imagine, was it righteous stuff going on back in the day here? Because they call it the city of the fallen angels, and they try to always demonize the fallen angels. But for me, a fallen angel would simply mean a being of angelic presence that came down from the sky. I'm sure some were good, some were bad, just like humans. If they took most of humans, it would be a problem if we landed on another planet. So possibly this is also a farming system for some of us, who they could take our blood. That's why they do experiments on our blood, but blood work on us to see what bloodlines are righteous, because they clearly do a bloodline work on those who could play sports. So imagine the ones who they know are gods. Those are the kids who they call star seeds and were labeled ADHD, attention deficit hyper disorder, because you vibrate on a higher dimension. I was labeled with ADD, attention deficit hyper disorder. That's why I always get into them plugging in machines to the brain, because I knew that I could control a Nintendo game with my brain in elementary and junior high. So now I tell people I already knew this. So if they're introducing this now to the public, imagine what else they were doing. And that's when we start learning how what they're doing now, since they can't put the cap on everybody, they have to put it in our hands. They have to use it with the 5G towers. They have to do it with the parasites in the food. They're attacking us to make us forget that not only we are in a simulation, that now they have us dreaming. I'm dreaming. And that's why they call it the American dream, because this is actually a dream. And if you don't know that you're dreaming right now, and that's probably why they also put more chemicals in the food to make it more solid, to where you even forget you're in a dream. And that's, once again, it goes to the man-made time.
That's exactly what they do.
So like this is Lana to the left, right? And this would be me as the original Mohawk to the right, because they got to put gel in their hair and crazy spray to get their Mohawks. We had the original Mohawks. All you had to do was grow your afro and cut it. That's why Mr. T represented the original Amarucan. The original Americans are us. So if we don't know we're in a simulation, and they can erase us through the media, the books, by burning our ancient libraries, by destroying our statues, by displacing us, by changing our tones and frequencies on how we identify and communicate with each other, the timeline and the reality of that matrix when we were the original so-called Indians, are the Moors and Moors, the original gods, the original Mohawks or Mohicans, that timeline no longer exists. And therefore the ancestors died. And that's why they hide the names of our ancestors, because when we start chanting their names, we invoke them. We invoke their spirits, like when we say air, love, peace, harmony. It invokes that. But when we say other tones, right? In other words, it invokes that reality. It's the
We
same
are
thing.
the ancestors.
There you go.
We are the ancestors, and the main trick that they don't want you to know, and they say it all the time when you're in church, they talk about the temple, right? They refer to the temple as your body. So if we are getting surgery and we're out here eating processed foods, lots of meat, things that are basically preventing you from you're welcoming more parasites into your body in essence. So we got to unplug from that. And once you learn that your body is it's the most important thing. I don't even know how to explain it to you. It has to be activated, because if we keep running around here filling our bodies up with parasites, how are we ever going to wake up and see we're in a simulation? How are we ever going to wake up from it? Those parasites purposely latch on to your nerves, to your brain. They go in there. It's like an electrician who can go in there. I think I mentioned this before. Electricians can go in, they can take, certain color wires, they know how to cross them, they know how to get this thing going, they know how to mix it all the way up. That's what happens inside of our body, in our temple. Our temple is all screwed up if we're not going to take the time to go work out and unplug from eating the foods that don't serve us well. That's why the majority of us are running around here doing things that don't make sense. And then
And right,
eventually we get older, and then you just start to like wind down, and now you're useless. Now you got to start all over again. So that's where death comes into play. You're gonna die, but you're gonna come right back. So
you nailed it.
why don't you just start now, so you don't have to keep going through more simulation after simulation after simulation? Because every time you go through it, people, you got to come back and you got to unravel yourself out of that issue that you're in. So just like the Rubik's Cube, uh, just like the example that I gave with the Rubik's Cube, at some point we have to reel it in, go back to nature, learn about your body, learn about the micro kingdom, learn about single cell organisms. That's who you are. One big old bug, and they know it, and that's why they fill you up with a bunch of their bugs, with whether it be what you're watching on TV, what you're hearing, what you're breathing in, and what you're putting in your mouth. Your temple is at attack. Every single day you wake up, you are being attacked. Remember that. You have to take control of your body, otherwise they're going to take control of it for you.
There you go. Do you see the picture to the left with the your body? So like Lana's saying, you see that we always see the man's body when they show the perfect geometry. But what about the womb, man? The womb. For me, the woman came first. She has the womb. So it says, did you know, scientifically, the black woman is the only organism that possesses the mitochondrial DNA that has all the variations possible for all kind of human beings. When the DNA of a black woman mutates, all other types of human beings come about. That's the Eve gene, and is only found in black women. The MTMRCA is the common ancestor of all mitochondrial DNA haplogroups and is isolated at the divergence of the macro haplogroup into LO and L1 through 6. So right here, the scientists, Europeans, admit that every single so-called human being, man and mankind, come from the so-called black woman. Therefore, you understand why she is being abducted so much and why her son has to also be corrupted. So in order for us to be corrupted, they have to corrupt our mothers first, because she is the original simulation. In order to get into this matrix hologram, you have to go through the woman. You guys get it? So that's the whole point, is erasing the simulation when our mothers and grandmothers ruled the planet through righteousness. And of course, when your mother's loving and grandmother's loving, she sends us out to do great things. So that's the balance. And that's when you see the woman and the man, or the pharaoh and his goddess, in front of each other and behind each other, because they ruled together. And so if they can erase that timeline and put in a new one, like we said, it doesn't exist. So what do we do when they trap us in these dreams? We look to the right. We see the wane of the heart, and you see the sister behind who? Anubis, right? Right there. So once again, you clearly see us, but you see her Anubis, her Sirius dog star. So with the head of the jackal, that meant that that brother had the knowledge that we were speaking about, the Sirius constellation. He had the knowledge of embalming. And so all this knowledge we had obtained, and we were able to practice. So if someone wasn't a master embalmer, they might be a master blacksmith, or a mathematician, or a farmer. We each understood that we were gods and superheroes, and each superhero has different strengths. And so if the creator and the woman and who created her has the all, that would mean that there would probably be no gender, hermaphrodite, woman, man. And then it'll dissipate to the robot and cyborg, all these things, and then probably recycle again on the infinite snake. That's why they show the infinite sign of the 8 sideways. And that's why we see the 5 coded in Dinkra codes. Once again, you see light bouncing off of each other. But that light is codes of 1s and 0s, y'all. So once again, we see that the elements bounce off of each other using light, which is a hologram, and our ancestors dropped information for us to teach us that we were already there, and they mastered it already. So this is why those in control do not want us to know our African cosmology, our African spirituality, and our Moor sciences, because it leads us home, because it's the master of psychology and the study of the mind, our mind, which they cannot figure out yet. This is why they create AI. This is why they create computers and laptops, because it's basically their form of cheating and spying on us, because we are the gods that they try to mimic. The computers are basically mimicking us, because they cannot stand outside and metamorphosize that radiation of sun, Ra, and those Dinkra codes, those codes that vibrate in us fast. Therefore, they have to trap us in the cities and use distractions so they could study us. Because we're not studying anything but the bullshit education and religions that they gave us. So right here, the cosmology origins, myth and symbol, from the Dogon in the ancient Egypt to India, Tibet, and China. And so when they show the Chinaman, they always take it away from us. So it's as if that the Eastern philosophies go to the Asian man for the herbalist, go to them for the healing. But in all actuality, we are the original agent. You're echoing. You there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So right here, as we start closing it out soon, you see Orion's belt and you see the hieroglyph in the sky. And then you see it in the physical form. So when you hear Osiris and Isis and these different deities, it's talking about the sky. And that's a projection in your mind. And for me, that's a story on how to escape the matrix. So right here, you see the hieroglyphs that resemble, coincidentally, a modern day wormhole. So we'll get into that in the next episodes, how once again, the hieroglyphs, which they do not teach us how to decode, are right there that teach us about the dream world. It teaches us about the infinite matrix that we're in. So therefore, I would say that the hieroglyphs are instructions on how to play this video game correctly. And that's why they give us these altered books, and they don't give us our ancient scrolls in our ancient books that they either burnt or hid away. And then they'll give the population the Bible, the Quran, or Torah, and people will say it's the word of God because it's the highest book that they've read outside of the book that the government distributes, meaning that the only reason that the Bible is the word of God to people is because they're ignorant and because the government controls the books that are distributed. But one thing the government cannot do or hasn't been able to do is figure out us. And that's why they have to hide these hieroglyphs. That's why they have to stop us from going to Egypt, Kemet, studying these ancient Mesoamerican structures, then learning that we're in Asia, basically getting up out of your cities and traveling the world. Instead of just going on vacation to get drunk, you're actually supposed to be traveling and learning about the sacred geometry of who you are so you can get up out of here. That's why they left it. What you just thought they put it in stone for play? That's why they're distracting you. So you don't know this. There's a way up out of this matrix. There's a way up out of this reality without dying physically. And clearly, if you do, you better have instructions or you will get trapped here like Lana was saying. It's not a game. It is, but clearly it's not a game. So there was a show called Superhuman Samurai, and this kid, I believe he died too, or he might be alive. The other one, Brendan, died. But Superhuman Samurai was about a show how they said that evil entities live within computer circuits, and it was called Kilocon. And so once again, it was showing us how they can use computers to basically send viruses, right? That's why they call them computer viruses. And what is a parasite to our body? It's a virus that disrupts your computer because you are a computer. Your brain is a computer. You are an organic robot, and your human avatar is a receiver. And not only are you experiencing things through your avatar, you're downloading and uploading at the same time. And that's when they gave you the show VR Troopers, Virtual Reality Troopers. We are VR. We are VR Troopers. 3 virtual reality troopers. 3 virtual reality. And who was the professor? He was a brother. Just like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and all these things, the brother was in the computer. He had already logged himself and put his consciousness in the computer, which was able to interface with this world. So they're giving you clues that there's someone behind the matrix. There's someone who can control the weather. So the weather isn't random. That's why there's seasons. The seasons of winter, fall, spring, those are artificial. That's why they call it summer, the place where you probably learned how to control the weather, learned how to create earthquakes, because you're living in a matrix. You can control the weather, just like your body can control the weather. Have you guys ever vibrated on a frequency and you stepped outside and all of a sudden the wind started blowing, the birds started chirping? That's because you control the weather. That's why when we come together, that's why when we come together, it gets hot. And that's why right now they have to change. They had to gentrify the black communities, because if they didn't gentrify it, those places would have been too hot physically, spiritually, for them to stop. That's why they're misplacing black people everywhere to where they don't have a home, and they're allowing other people to take over those former black communities so they can suck up the energy. All they have to do is study the history of that area, and they can suck up all those so-called black people's energy and get it. I'm telling y'all, this is why it's imperative to know you're in a video game. And right here on the bottom screen, a guide to the 3D hologram projection is revolutionizing everything, because they're going to introduce the holograms to the public. So when you see certain events in the sky, if they were to create an earthquake and natural disasters and riots, and then control and say there's no more food, and then project a white Jesus in the sky while there's spaceships and wars in the sky, and then they drop off food when a white Jesus comes, or if a white Jesus comes on a spaceship from the sky in a projection, it will then fool the population to worship this character that they already scripted out and set out. That's why people say the Bible is true. It's because the people who control the simulation wrote the Bible. They put different books together, edited out, and then distributed these books to the ignorant population, and that's all they know. Therefore, that's all they think about. That's all they imagine. That's all they create. And it creates a time loop. And that's why you see no innovation in the arts. You see no innovation when you go to the museums. You see so-called black people still celebrating being slaves, because they don't know who they are, because they've been taught who they are. Because you're in a matrix hologram, and the people controlling the simulation know that you're a computer. They know that you're a robot, and they know that you can be programmed clearly. So right here, Lana, you would see hands sometimes when you were in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You explain the puppeteer, possibly that there are other entities that vibrate on another channel that we cannot possibly see, are simply these stations and radio stations are behind mountains or underground, where they can look at us and also control it through ley lines. What do you feel about them controlling everything? And you see people controlling relationships, controlling dogs, all these things in society. And then to the right, instead, we are everything we experience. We are all part of the same simulation, because they're giving us all the same programs. But go ahead.
Well, most of us don't like to be controlled, right? So I know me, when someone tries to tell me what to do, don't tell me what to do. I don't like to be controlled. Yet here we live in a society where everything is controlled. Like I said, you wake up in the morning, you don't want to go to work, but you go. You don't want to pay those bills, make you. They tell you if you don't, it's going to get shut off. They tell you if your kid doesn't go to school, you're going to go. So they put roadblock, like it reminds me of shapes. When you have that, you can only stay within that square. You can't go outside of that square, because if you do, an alarm will go off. So that's just how they keep it. So when I saw hands coming out, I was living in Las Vegas at the time. I was on my way to work. It was early in the morning, and I was just coming down off of ecstasy. Okay. And people say, oh, you're on drugs. You're on drugs. You're delusional. And no, usually when you're on those drugs, they're taking you to other locations that they don't want you to know about, because they exist. And I saw hands literally they were coming out of the sky, and it had like the strings, like a puppet, like somebody was controlling, like a puppet master. And I was just like, wow. And this was like, I think in 2008, 2009 is when I saw that. So these are things that I experienced. I wasn't completely awake, as you would call it, but there were events that took place in my life, even ever since I was a kid, that I can remember telling myself, that's how I know we've been here before multiple times, because you'll feel like something isn't right, and it goes against your DNA or your DEA. It goes against your blood. It goes against whatever you feel in your heart, right? It's because you've been here multiple times. Or if you have a kid, or if you have a nephew or a niece or whatever, and they're born, and people say, oh, that kid's been here before. They have been here before. It's not, it's nothing new. We've been here multiple times. And like Jason was saying, death is not real. Only thing that happens is you have to tap out of here. You're going to come right back, but you don't want to keep coming back, because it's harder, just like that Rubik's Cube. Most of you can't even put the Rubik's Cube back together, can you? Most of you guys can't. And it's that goes with this simulation that we're in. You don't want to keep tapping into new apps. You're going to get lost. And now we're in a situation where we have to unravel it. And when you start to see that you're in a simulation, it could get a little uncomfortable, because then you realize you've been lied to. And now you have to accept the fact that you've been lied to. Have you ever been in a relationship and the person lied to you, and you found out you've been lied to? Weren't you hurt for a long time? Or you start not trusting people? So yeah, when you start to realize you're in a simulation, it requires, you're gonna need folks that understand what's going on, because you're going to get upset. You're going to go through stages. You're going to have like of anger, because you've been lied to. That's what this simulation does to us. Hence the reason I say we have to unravel it slowly but surely. It takes time. Unravel what you're experiencing, because this is all an experience. Ask questions. I think JoJo said that before he tapped out. Question everything. When you look up in the sky, look at the clouds. Look at the moon. Does it look real? When you were a kid, did you question these things? Start going back to the organic. When you're a kid, you're the most organic. You're the closest to what they say. You're the closest to God. They haven't, manipulated you that much as a kid. The older you get, they have a little bit more time to manipulate you. But when you're a child, you're more organic. So that's when you go back to that childhood mentality where you question things, or things didn't make sense, or they didn't add up. There's a reason behind that. And like Jason was saying, it's because listen, this is the crazy part about it. We don't think that there's powers that I call them powers that used to be. We don't think that they exist. We think that these folks have a job that they go to every day, like how most of us have a job that we go to, and we're busy. And no, their whole objective, we're on this live for 3-4 hours, 24/7. That's all they do, is spend all their time trying to distract you. So you can't know who you are, so you don't wake up, so you can't vibrate high, because heaven forbid you vibrate high, you're going to know who you are, and now their whole world is done. It's a wrap. So if I can have your riches, and if I can live your life because your life is amazing, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to prevent you from knowing who you are, because I don't want to give those keys back. I want to keep rolling around in this Bentley, and I want to keep living in this big old house, and I want to keep having access to anything I can, because I want to live your life. I like your life. So think about it. The powers that were have to give everything back, and that's what's transport. That's what's happening right now. It's all unraveling. So the planet's waking up. Everything's unraveling, whether you like it or not. You're either going to have to hop on the bandwagon, or you're going to fall off. So my suggestion to everybody Starts with the food. It starts with the way you think. It's all a mindset. You got to make a decision. Do I want to wake up out of this simulation? Yes. Okay. It'll take time, but it's going to be baby steps too. So it starts with the food. I promise you, your body is everything, people. Everything. You got to get the mind, your stomach, your lymphatic system, and your glymphatic system. You got to get that activating again. Because right now they have that under control, and they're going harder in the paint when it comes to the fruits and the vegetables and the foods and everything. That is the primary issue right there. We got to get our bodies functioning. We got to get rid of these parasites, y'all.
When you were talking about us dying and all that, and not knowing about certain things of the powers that be, and coming back, I put up the quantum leap because sometimes, like if I die or if I'm about to die in a dream, I could wake up and I'll come back here. You know, sometimes I'll be in a dream and I'll be conscious that I'm dreaming, and I'll know that I have another body in a life on Earth. My thing is remembering the past dreams that I just came from, because there's some dreams that I could go to where it's reoccurring since a kid, different ones, and then there's some like, damn, what the F is going on here? So it's like when you died, you probably could either come back, like you were saying, or find one of your dreams. If we're living now, possibly we're supposed to be mastering those dreams, those other dimensions, but they're distracting us with so much BS that the moment we wake up here, we're thinking about time. What time is it? I got to go to the job. I got this person, I can't relate to this person. It's so much babbling and confusion. It's hard to wake up peaceful. And then already on that, that vibe, to where you can just be around innovation, high level culture 24/7. And that stipends as beings on why we're truly here for our experience. And that's how people don't evolve, and they don't end up accomplishing the goals on why they truly plugged in here for. And that's unfair, to where someone's not supposed to be doing something. It seems to a certain level. Some people might say it's all part of the game and the experience, but for me, there's someone who's hijacking it, and this is why they show you Quantum Leap. They're showing you these shows to let you know that there's people who have ascended before and that are still here. They're showing you that they've reset society through floods, through earthquakes, through what they would call meteors, showers, or through spaceships sending fireballs. The world's been destroyed, meaning the matrix reset, just like a video game. When you reset a game or reset your computer, it's reset. Sometimes things save, sometimes things don't. You save the matrix or save that file. How do you save it? Through the stone structures, through the pyramids. That's why when you go to Egypt or Kemet or Tamare, there's paint still inside of those temples. If they're not acid washed down, there's still paint from thousands of years ago. You'll see the paint of the brothers, they'll nose off. But now through the media and through acid wash, even in Mesoamerica, they lighten up the pictures where more than ever. Just like certain presidents, you're going to learn that certain presidents are dark-skinned and swarthy. That's why they give you black and white certain paintings when they had color already. I'm telling you all, we already had 3D printers. We already had cameras, flying crafts, computers, all of this technology. They're just hiding it from us so they can reintroduce it to us to create a false timeline, a false reality that if people believe in it, it's real. Therefore, in the future, which is now the present, if people are living in a false reality, What happens if you die not knowing anything but what they taught you? Your soul gets trapped here. It gets trapped here. And that's why they say, even in their books, like the Bible and stuff, no one's in heaven yet. Heaven only comes when God returns, right? That's the thing about ghosts. That's when you can smell your ancestors. You might smell your auntie be like, where are those rose petals? Or that smell, that's because they're still there. That scent. That's why other cultures put the pictures of certain things, or they'll put out either liquor for this, or they'll do blood for that, or herbs for different deities, different ancestors, like we were showing that vibe on different frequencies, which is a different timeline.
Is that, may I interrupt? Is that because the ancestors will be helpful for us to help us get out of the simulation? So we want to keep our ancestors. Growing, I was told that was demonic. You cannot honor your ancestors. That's demonic. That's crazy that they taught us that. But go ahead. I just wanted to connect the dots.
You started breaking up and they didn't fully hear you. But can you repeat that again? Basically, how Lana was saying how we.
I wanted to know. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You said something.
What? Let me say. We're basically saying that through God worship, through Jesus worship, it's demonized us and who we are as a people. They've demonized our culture. Oh, it's pagan. They demonize us being gods. It's bad to be a god, to the point where in the Black community, it's bad to be intelligent and it's cool to be a gangster. It's cool to be a Crip. It's cool to be a thug. It's cool to be a gangbanger, a blood in modern day times, right? Because people say, oh, originally what it is. Fillers. It's okay to wear a wig. It's okay to be a devil, which is them. Because if you're yourself, you become a god again. So yes, is that what you were asking? Because your thing was glitching.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's just going back.
Going in and out.
But go ahead.
I can't remember what I asked you.
No, you were asking me about the
you said something. Yeah, I said so at church they demonized it. They said that we could not honor our ancestors. Once they're dead, they're dead. You don't honor them. That was demonic, basically. That was considered demonic. So no, you couldn't honor any of your grandmother, your auntie. Once they're dead, that's a wrap. You can't put them on an altar. You can bring them up, but you can't put them on an altar because that's considered witchcraft. That's what I grew up being taught, but not realizing that our ancestors. And so when a lot of times when I was a kid, I used to do stuff like this. Like I used to stare at myself in the mirror and I would say something and I would tell myself, remember this day, remember this time, or I would leave little clues for myself. As a little girl, I would do these things. So it's because multiple times. And so I was of clues throughout the times that I was coming here, so that when I got to this point, I can really remember. I don't know if some of y'all have been remembering your dreams, but you'll start to remember your dreams, as a kid. And those dreams, you're starting to remember them for a reason. And I think mainly it's because all the timelines are starting to come together. So everything's going to start making sense. And that's because you're starting to come. It's kind of like, how can I explain it? It's so much but I'll try to break it down. But if you can think of it as glass or something shattering on the ground, right? If glass shatters on the ground, it breaks up into a zillion pieces. That's you. You have those pieces back together. Oh, well, it's just too much work. It is, but you got to take it one step at a time. Because right now we're in a conundrum. So it's just going to take one step at a time to put those pieces back together. But just remember, you're in multiple pieces, and those be put back together. And it starts with the food. It starts with exercise. It starts with your environment. You see, one thing at a time. But we have to make the conscious decision to try something different. Because I keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. I heard a voice 2 years ago said, "Quit your job." I was a single mom. I have to pay the bills. What you mean quit my job? How am I going to? My ancestors are telling me, quit your job. When I quit my job, I started waking up more. Why? Because I didn't have to get up and go to work for somebody else's dream. I started to unravel it. Though, okay, it's not going to happen overnight. And if you believe in, not believe, if you say, okay, I'm going to do XYZ, and you tell you're going to do, it's going to happen. The universe at work. But we have to make that conscious decision to unravel or put the puzzle pieces back together again, so that what Jason is saying and what Jesus is saying and what is saying and what begin to all make sense.
Because you have to understand, for everyone watching, look at this picture, like Lana said, it worked like a charm. JoJo was talking about COINTELPRO. After murdering, enslaving, raping millions of them, we brutally converted them into Christians, told them that God was white, and that if they ever wanted to meet him, they had to forgive us for everything we did to them, and they did. Some of them even fight to defend our false religion. So right there, you see it. You see that they brag about, at the end of the day, right here shows you that they use you as the battery, and their world exists as long as they're on top of you. And so they have to keep you ignorant. So you'll see Black people defend Jesus. You'll see Black people defend God. You know, the majority of people will say they believe in God without a true, proper understanding of God. If I were to put the word G-O-D, I'll be like, what's that? Well, that says God. But I'll be like, who told you that? Because that's a hieroglyph. You know, if I were to grab a pen right now, for example, I have this pen. You see it blank, right? Let me give this perfect example for the viewers. You guys see how it's blank. Now I'm going to write this real quick. You guys see that? Some of you guys probably won't be like, what's that? It might be but then I'm going to do this. What's that?
G.
The G. You see the 7, right?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then now you see a right angle to form that 7.
Geometry.
That 7 represents the 90-degree angle. 7s and L's are building blocks of life. Feel me, G?
Yeah.
Geometry of life, the tree of life, geometry. You know, that's why they didn't want us to learn. So that's just a symbol. Then I'll do this. Now it says what?
Oh, go.
Right. Now, we were taught these symbols, and then I could do this. Now people be like, GOI is a 1-0, but then I do this symbol. Does that say anything to you guys? Not yet. I didn't connect the D. But if I connect that D, now it says what?
God.
There you go. So right there, you see the programming of sounds. Like a robot, like a dog. Train. Your dog learns your voice, your tones, and all that. The difference is instead of us learning through oral tradition in sacred geometry, they trapped us with these spells, these words, dog, because dog is a Sirius constellation. Dog is Orion's belt. We are the dog. Reverse. That's how they did it. You are God. You are the dog. So God is reversed. That means that you're the dog. You are the Sirius constellation. Your third eye, pineal gland, within that is the seat of heaven. So this hieroglyph, when we see the seat, we see a seat. Some might say the L and the 7, but that's a seat. Then you might see the Pharaoh on his throne. With that, the Pharaoh's God, right, on his throne, on his L, on his square, on his 7, right? 90-degree angles, the builder blocks of life. Being serious, then connecting, I'm going to draw it for y'all, to the sun, the Sirius sun, the bright star, the all-seeing eye that's recording everything. And you're able to receive and download information from that star that is called heaven or Orion's belt or Osiris. So heaven means Orion, Orion's belt, which is Osiris, which are the stars, right? The sun. And who sits on the throne? Who sits on the seat? God. God sits on his throne in heaven. You are God. And your soul, your consciousness, your infinite being sits in between your brain.
Projecting outwardly.
Moves. So
Right.
when I go like this, there's a signal that sends in a quick millisecond that tells my brain to go like this, to go like that. So it's a remote control. You're controlling someone, you're controlling your avatar, but you're not fully conscious on how to operate it yet. Just like that movie Men in Black, when they opened up the face and that alien, he was like, Orion's belly.
Oh, or like Total Recall when he was like, wait.
There you go. So, and then in Total Recall, he woke up and he's like, no, they're real in there. And the lady, she was like, he's waking up. He was like, it's impossible for him to wake up. And she said, no, he's talking about Mars, like he's really been there. It's impossible. We erased his memory. And then she was like, no. And he said, shut up, you stupid bitch. Wow. And what's a female dog? You know, and so you learn about Sirius, the dog, and all these symbolism. So what happens? They put you back to sleep when you wake up. And then there's other people, which can be your family or friends, that are NPCs that they will call government agents and Agent Smith, whether they know it or not, because they're being puppeted. Whether it's the parasites, the food, the majority of the planet, they don't think for themselves. They'll defend, like I was saying, they'll defend, where did it go? They'll defend this word or symbol. It's a symbol, y'all. Do you get it now, dog? So that's how they reversed it. So when you understand the Sirius dog star, like Truman Show, he looked up and it fell. And that was a signal for us as the true man and our woman, really the man. The woman has to tell her story, not us. And so the true man, the Sirius dog star light that I just explained, you become God again. You become God when you sit on your throne. But us as melanated beings, we have a connection to that sun rod, the heaven, Orion's. And that's when I was showing you the pyramids. And that's when you start wanting to go home. And that's why they blew up the towers and the pyramids, because you were able to go inside of these pyramids and you were able to phone home. E.T., phone home, that little extraterrestrial being in California. That's the story of us. So long story short, when you were able to step inside of those pyramids, these were machines, y'all. And once again, I guarantee you, this is the answer to the Matrix, is the pyramid. Matrix machines, to where you can plug in your mind to different star systems, which is in your mind, and have different experiences in this infinite plane of existence. Someone shut it down, and someone has now trapped us in their simulation using ideas, suggestions, even though this is the same plane of existence where the pyramids and all that exists. So meaning that timeline still exists. It's just that we're vibrating on a low frequency. And that's when we learn about stealth technology. The vehicle is still there. It exists. It just vibrates on a frequency where it's undetected either by sight or by other people's radar. And that's why they were showing you in Wakanda, they couldn't find it because they found a way to vibrate and, just like today, use certain sacred geometry to build a force like an X-Men, like these movies that they show you.
Captain America.
All those.
Yeah.
And so these symbols form the words. And that's why right here, I drew the man. You could look, that's us. That's you as the man or woman. I'll do it
inside of a box.
Yes. Well,
inside
like
that
this.
box.
So there's nothing here. I'll draw the circle. So that would be the symbol of the man, right? All angles, let's say. Then you get put in that the Matrix game. There's probably a machine under, like I would say, that vibrates like a hologram. So that would be like a machine underneath. So you're on that machine, and then through the sun and all the, basically they project it. If I can, so once the L and the 7, you can project and then form different realities throughout that. If that makes sense. So in their cells, so it traps you in there. But if you understood that your cells can be broken and vibrate on a different frequency, that's where you become the infinite immortal being that they fear. To where, just like JoJo was saying, when a person drinks too much or does certain things, a spirit can jump inside their body, a lower frequency. Well, it's the same when you're vibrating high. That's why they dunk you in water when you get baptized and start chanting and all this thing, or people start shaking. It's because those are entities, lower entities, using your body as a vessel. And so once again, like Lana teaches, when you're vibrating on a certain frequency, parasites, whether it's in the food or people who are walking parasites, cannot affect you, or they'll come around you. Like they say, you are what you attract. Well, if you're bright in your food, even a rat will come try to eat. So don't let people manipulate you with that when they say, well, you are what you attract. If I'm good and everything, yeah, when you shine bright, bugs come. And you have to have a zapper. That's why you have to vibrate, work out, be around the right mate, have certain stones and crystals.
You gotta still put your armor on. They teach that in the Bible too, right? You gotta put the whole armor on, your crystals.
Wow.
You know, your mind has to be right. You gotta eat certain foods that are vibrating off of a higher frequency. When you get rid of those parasites and you start vibrating off a higher frequency, those parasites can't enter into your body. And it makes it easier for you to resist them when you don't partake in them. So the less you partake in music, the people, because people will bring you down. I don't talk to a lot of people specifically for that reason, because they always want to talk about their diabetes or, this, that. They claim they're parasite. You feel me? My diabetes today is acting up. Well, you and your diabetes go on ahead and hang out. I love you from a distance. I can't, because now I'm entertaining it, and those parasites will welcome themselves into my psyche, and I don't want any part of that. And that's okay. But that's how you start the process. Remember I said you got to reel it in? You got to start the process. You may have to get rid of some folks. You may have to get rid of some things that you're used to eating. You may have to start changing your habits and start going to the gym 4 or 5 times out the week, instead of complaining and saying, I'm getting older. Oh, when you reach a certain age, your body starts aching. No, that's because your ass isn't working out and you're not eating the proper foods. And somebody told you that's what it is. So therefore you just regurgitate and repeat what somebody said. And that's not true. Sorry, it's not true. So go ahead.
It's like wrestling. So as we start closing it up, y'all, Linda McMahon, wife of WWE billionaire. Somehow he's not locked up. This dude's been talked about for years being a racist, pedophile, scumbag, connected to murders, human trafficking, and all that, and behind Donald Trump as well. He hired his wife. So the education system now is WWE, is WWF. Just like Lana said, it's fake. You're in an artificial reality being scripted by these wizards. The wizard, and you're in Oz. Are you going to be Dorothy? Are you going to be the Lion? Are you going to be the Tin Man? Are you going to be one of the witches of Emerald City? Are you going to be one of the dwarves? Who are you going to be? Are you going to be the coward wizard like in The Wiz, like Richard Pryor was? This is what we're dealing with. They're telling you these are the wizards of the Matrix hologram right here. And then imagine who they serve. Who do they serve? And this is when you start learning about the frequencies of being controlled, of them erasing the timeline. This is why they had the white superheroes, the white wrestlers, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, all of these superheroes that they gave you to erase the fact that you're the original superhero, that you're the original Captain America. So they have to create these false timelines in the Matrix, but first, they have to get you to not even know that you're in a matrix, maze, labyrinth simulation. So as we close it out, we'll go through the Truman Show. You see the steps to get there. Right there, you see the artificial background, the artificial hologram in the sky, the ice wall, the projection, the thoughts, the people around you, the majority of the people around you will keep you in the maze. They will keep you in the matrix. And some people are just here to play. But for those of us who have advanced and want to get to higher levels, as you see those descend, we must travel. You see them as Moors and Moors. You see how we travel. You see the sailboat. And so that's, once again, they stop us from traveling the stars in our minds so we do not become serious again, like the big black dog star, the atom, the atomic dog, like the Funkadelic, George Clinton and them, when they talked about the mothership. They were doing psychedelics, tapping into different frequencies. They had to take out the instruments because we were tapping into those frequencies, and it creates a timeline outside of what they told us is real. And once you break that timeline and you can live in that in peace, their society ends. That's what you call a race of vampires who are able to walk amongst us in the daytime, because they're trying to manipulate us sun walkers, who are the righteous ones, who are actually immortal. We just came into this body again, so you already know what we're doing. So just like we compare it to reality, you being hooked up to a machine and being able to control it with your mind and your thoughts, but someone has corrupted our thoughts as you see, kids to adults. We broke down the Truman Show. Real talk, millions and millions of dollars put into movies to give you clues on how to escape this reality. And so right there, it's not spelled serious, Serious. It's specifically spelled Sirius, the satellite in the sky. The Dog Star, Orion's Belt, which points to the Giza Plateau, the pyramids in the Sudan, the pyramids in Mesoamerica. Dog. And that's why they put it in your face with the satellite radio, because that's their highest frequency to disseminate information is the satellite radio that was supposed to replace the AM FM. But we are truly connected to the real most highest satellite. We are connected to the most high satellite, dog, the star. The Truman Show, cut up into pieces, right? Just like Orion Osiris. So the story of the true man in the book of dreams, coming forth by day, what they will call the book of the dead, the book of the life, how our ancestors already mastered psychology, and Sigmund and Freud and all these other Europeans are sick. So now it's time to open up our own universities, open up our own mystery schools, my story, our legacy, our lineage. This is the wealth. As you see them on the slab, you see you see the white part, you guys? Look on top. It's a beehive. If you look on the table that the mummy's on, do you see that beehive on top? Do you see the pharaoh's head next to the lion? Do you see the falcon or the hawk with the head of an African or Egyptian are really you? So that's the dream, meaning that our ancestors mastered the fact that we were in a dream, and we would record our dreams so we could master the other realms as we do work in the dream world, and we come back here. So you see him holding the Alpha and Omega sign. That's a sign of power. That once again, those are machines. And there you go, the symbols of Mayat. And so that's where you learn about psychology, science, mathematics, hidden information built for us to live off. So instead of psychology in their schools, their math, their institutions, we have to remember that we taught their top scholars because they were never scholars. It was only a select few of them that were allowed to come amongst us. Only a few of them.
I know you're closing it out, Jason, but just looking at this, and we are very divine and wonderfully made. Yeah. Just this picture alone, I mean, one person, you'd have to be insane to not know how divine and wonderfully made you are. Like, it takes time to unwrap. It takes time to understand the science of the body. It doesn't happen overnight. We have to literally, like you said, come up with our own schools so we can teach our people about their body. And it's mind blowing. Like our body is mind freaking blowing. Okay. Just the cells alone, people, it would blow your mind. Like one little cell is a little version of me. You mean to tell me that's my ancestors? Oh, my ancestors are actually in me. Like when I walk, I'm not walking by myself. My ancestors are literally with me. And when I don't eat properly, I'm literally killing my ancestors.
Because they didn't eat the foods we eat. So we're connecting to them. And we have the blood. We all connect to that original so-called Black woman who they cannot figure out. So remember, we come in through the womb. We come in through her vagina. So what world does she come from?
Portal.
That's the whole point. Where does the so-called original woman come from? If we all come from her womb. You see, that's why they have to tell people that God is a man. Because it strips you of thinking properly. The moment you start believing in God, that's why in Boys in the Hood, she said, how do you know God ain't a she? She and he. And she played in the movie Watchmen, Regina King. So right there, that's when we learn about the goddess or the womb man. So any religion or spirituality that is teaching the world that God is the Almighty and it's a man and that man came before a woman, that's a lie. Teachings adjacent. So when we understand and think logically that we all came to this dimension on what they're labeling Earth, but once again, blank page, right? If I do this, what is that? You guys see those lines? Let me break it down again.
There we are. That's better.
All right. I'm gonna break this down real quick for y'all.
Break it down.
Can you see those? You see that?
3 lines?
3 lines.
Okay.
That's because right now with the words that I'm able to use through communicating with you, unless I start saying maybe start talking about the I Ching system. Do you know anything about that? You might. I'm not going to predict what you're going to say, but you might say no.
No,
right?
I don't.
Or I might say won't, don't, won't. So meaning until I do this symbol, which represents a sound, a frequency, a world within a tone. What does that spelling say?
E. A.
There you go. And then I could do that. And until I do this, and then once again, I'll put that.
Earth.
Right. And so someone had to teach you that, but that person who taught you that was a program robot too. Much love to the person who taught us that, but that was part of the programming.
That was their language.
Right. Because go ahead.
When we came here, we were the original. So we didn't, that's why I said a long time ago, I said, when babies were born, when my kid was born, I had to teach my kid the English language. My kid came out when they wanted something, and it was the way they said it is when I knew eventually, oh, they want their bottle, or they want, I didn't get my kids bottles, but they want, a spoon or whatever it is. It was a tone. It wasn't the word that they were speaking. And that's when I realized as a mother, when I had a kid, that we were taught something from somebody else. And who's to say, well, that those languages also cause division, because if I speak English and you speak French, obviously I have to learn your language and vice versa in order for us to be able to communicate. So the original language, in my opinion, wasn't English, French, Spanish, whatever. It was a vibration. And that's what we were speaking, because when the baby comes out, they're making vibrations. They're not saying, hey, mom, can I get my bottle? Can I get my boob so I can get that milk out of there? They're not saying that. Right. And as a mother, if you have kids, my daughter and I can have the same dream because we're connected. So those vibrations, those frequencies are real, because you can have a dream and wake up, and her and I don't even have to say anything. We just automatically know what the dream was about. We knew, So yeah, the moral of the story is those vibrations and those frequencies were first, and someone, like you said, created a language for us to vibrate lower than what we're supposed to be at. The tricknology, I
Right?
swear.
It's the slave languages. The language of the gods are, you know, they they speak in,
That's
different
that box that I was talking about. Yes.
different
So they.
different patterns, and then they trap people. So right here you see the triangle, right?
Mhm.
And then we'll make the lower one, and then that's, and then you could make other shapes. And so that's how they speak. So when you see religious people with this, they call it the Star, David, and all, those are sigils that they didn't even make up, or a lot of them have no clue. That's when you learn about they have rabbis, and in front of rabbis, R-A, Ra. And who is Ra? That is you. That is you as a so-called original man and then original woman already recording your sciences. So everything that they are trying to teach is a misrepresentation and a lower vibration of what only a few of their leaders were taught. And so when we see them in power, they do not know how to rule properly. For one, they were not given the right instructions. So when they're left alone without proper guidance, we see that they operate as a machine differently than us as original people. They try to say that we are the same. If we were the same, they wouldn't say we're indigenous. They wouldn't say this prior to all this. It's because we are different. We are a different species. The way we eat and process food is different. The way we synthesize sunlight is different. And so we've already created a culture prior to what the so-called European or pale skin European says his culture is. So when we go through factual evidence, what we can find, they admit that the Moors gave them information to get up out of their current condition, meaning so-called black people, African people, original people, gave them math, science, literature, language to create a world because they didn't have
Oh.
a world.
So we send our kids to school to learn their world.
They didn't have a world. They were running around here rampant. The thing about it is they try to teach us that the animals don't have a world, but they do too. But what is their world when they're not around us? When they're not stealing from other people's culture and they're only around those of themselves that look like themselves, what is their culture? What is their original base reality and matrix? And then you'll see that we are different because we can take ourselves out of their reality and we will thrive.
I get it now. Okay. Because a girl at the gym was like, "Oh, your hair. I wish I could braid my hair." They usually say, "I wish I could braid my hair like that." They can't. They can't because they don't have their hair's too stringy. So they can't do what we can do. We're just way different.
Right.
Okay.
But so they convince our sisters reverse.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're trying to be like us. Same thing when black people thinking they want to get money and they get rich, or when a person who didn't have money and they're the first of their generation black, they think that the materialistic stuff is it. But if you were raised around black people with money, or if you were raised around rich white people, or went to college with super wealthy white kids and they took you around, you'll learn that, man, like
they invest.
That, and if you ever have a chance to meet their father or their grandfather and they're very wealthy, they'll tell you that don't ever invest in a Rolls Royce.
Yeah.
Cars are your worst investment.
Yep.
They start telling you, then you'll see how they dress regular. You wouldn't know. But one thing I notice in all wealthy so-called pale skin Europeans' house, African artifacts, African statues, not just Egypt, particularly African artifacts. Then you'll start seeing the Buddhas and stuff, but behind them, you'll always see our stuff. because they know within, that's the thing to study.
It's
So they
magic.
have to keep you distracted. So the magic is having you study about them, having you study about Sigmund and Freud. Oh, let's make up a place called Earth. There's no such thing called Earth.
You know what Dr. Layla Africa said? Shout out to Dr. Layla Africa. He said, you know, we spend all of our time studying the European, but we don't study the European. Wait, no, we spend all of our time. Yeah, we basically we need to study them. Because,
I have a video of Ashra Kwesi saying the same thing. I should pull it up before we end it, since we're on it. He said, basically what you said. He said, where do you think they're getting all this melanin from? First of all these melanin, so they're getting it from somewhere. And he said, meanwhile, you studying the Lakers, you studying all this bullshit that they're giving you. Meanwhile, they're studying you. They study everything about you. They study how high you jump. Let's time him a 40-yard dash. Let's see how fast he can run a 40-yard dash. Oh my God, he ran 4.2. Let's hide it though while we study him. Let's make an NFL combine. We're gonna see how fast they run. We're gonna see how many weights they lift. You know what I'm saying? And oh my God, let's see how high they can jump. And then they study us. Let's put them in a project. That's why they call it a project, right? You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna move all these people out. We're gonna put them on top of each other. We're going to give them bad food, bad education. We're going to put guns in their community. And then, wait, we're going to give them some bad drugs. We're going to make some chemicals. And then one generation after next thing, we're going to make some sound, man. That's going to take me 20 years, man, to make a sound like that. We'll work on it. Okay, I got the sound, man. But first, we got to make it digital. We got to get them on the computers, man. Then we got to give them headphones, man, so we can put the undertunes, man. Like, it's real programming to forget us
all day. That's their job.
Yes.
24/7. They don't stop. That's their job, is to keep us asleep, to keep the gods asleep.
And so when I say Mars, to me, I connect it to, this is the code. Mars is MERS, y'all. Mars is MERS, and it's Total Recall. That's what it's saying. Is that we have to return to Mars. That's the whole point of the movie, and that's why they showed you in the movie the alien was the brother. And that's why in the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's in the train going in the underground that Elon Musk and them are trying to do, are already done if you go to Vegas and throughout the world. They're just showing you those tunnels. And so he said, man, they had to stop the mining. They found hieroglyphs and also monuments back there. And the black alien said, man, those were my ancestors. So right there in Total Recall, and Elijah Muhammad talked about us coming from Mars. They already are trying to introduce Sidonia, life on Mars. And that's when I studied the Moors, the Mers, Marvin the Martian, the Etruscans, and all these things. We were planet hopping, y'all. And not only would I say it's a different dimension, because people are thinking it's a ball, and that's the thing. If they could convince, people won't even logically think of it if they're like, Jason, what do you mean it's a spinning ball in outer space? How would they land? And that's when it starts to getting real conversations to me, where Mars would be either a different frequency and dimension, but really it's just another landmass.
We'd have to completely change the way they taught us, because the way they taught us, you'd have to really see it visibly to make sure your brain can calculate whatever it is that they taught us is completely wrong. Like, it's completely wrong. So that's why when you hear it or you see it on TV or you're going even to museums or whatever, and the way they have it all set up, it has nothing. It looks nothing like that. So that's why they keep us completely confused. And the same way, like you were saying, Jason, how they just every day, all day long, that's what they're doing. They're focusing on keeping us asleep. That's why I say we have to take the time to unravel it, because it's going to take time to unravel this they put us through.
And speaking of unraveling, I thought of you, priestess oracle. To the right, you guys, it says huge crops with built are grown with electricity. And back in the day when I was growing, I would sing to the plants. I would test and do different music. So I learned that reggae, opera, different stuff would grow my plants different. But even doing crystals, I learned that when I would put crystals and different energy around my plants, I did real tests on my crops. But also when I would go into these hydroponic stores that you guys like see to the right with the crops, you can see clearly. Um, I would notice that on the bottles there would you can see me on the bottles it would be like a priestess or it would be an indigenous person with all these crystals on their head. Those growers who are listening know what I'm talking about. When you go to the plant food store and it shows you ancient pyramids or it'll say like the Mayan something, and they took this recipe from the indigenous, and this compost was taken. So basically, what it was is that the troglodytes did not know how to do anything when they got here. They taught us in school that when the pale-skinned Europeans came here, they didn't know how to farm, eat, or anything, and the Indians and the people helped them. So that meant that they didn't have any knowledge whatsoever to that capacity. So that meant that we taught them how to grow and farm and all these things. Coincidentally, the HBCUs were a lot of agriculture, and that's wealth if you know how to tend to the land, right? If everyone knows how to farm and grow their food and learning different farming techniques that you see, that means that we were able to grow mega large foods. And when you go to these pale-skinned European cities back in the day, the small towns, they would have these fairs. Like if you watch the movie Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox, for an example, it was one of those towns where they had the fair and whoever grew the biggest squash. That was us back in the day, to where it was competition, like brothers gang bang, who could kill each other the most or who could score the most touchdowns in insignificant real games. We based communities off of who could grow the best vegetable, who could come up with the most innovative technology. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they do with the time loop right here. When you see you can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people. You can't fool all the people all the time. So if you saw a coin that was ancient that looked like you would say, wait a second, well, what happened there? If you understood that you were in Mexico and that you're the original American. So when you hear Donald Trump, when you see pale-skinned Europeans saying they're American, it would click in your head and you'll be like, wait a second. These aren't Americans. These are Europeans who recently got here. And so recently they changed our frequency. Recently they changed the way we perceive reality. They introduced a new thought process. And that's what we're in. So that's the escape of the matrix. We're in a matrix hologram already, but you can create matrices within a matrix, meaning you can create civilization, put pieces together, and it can operate. And if you know science and math on how to live forever, meaning your ka and your ba and your friends and family know how to communicate with the dead and your ancestors, you can communicate with each other and never die. That's why they always bring up Hitler. That's why they always bring up George Washington. They bring up their dead and celebrate their people, and it keeps them alive. If you don't talk about Hitler, it's forgotten. If you don't talk about, they say, those speaketh no, heareth no evil, it's the same thing. So when we start talking about health, it comes. When you start saying it, I'm a multi-millionaire, I'm a multi-trillionaire, I have a successful civilization, I have 400 acres of land. All these things you put into your mind. And that's what we're living in. to where we can no longer allow them to create the reality. As we close it up, the show Sliders, go look it up. It was showing you, just like the Pharaoh's rod, the Pharaoh's rod was a particle accelerator, just like CERN. So in the back of the brother, right, he was a musician, able to captivate. So just like the good preachers back in the day, they used to be able to sing. They used to be able to tear down the house. So imagine back in the day, the Pharaoh's band. Imagine the music that we were. So imagine Earth, Wind, and Fire. Imagine the hip hop. So imagine the music before rhythm and blues and jazz. Imagine that. We were opening up portals with instruments. And that's what we are. We have organs inside of us. What are organs? Organs are musical instruments. And so the foods and the nutrients allow our organs to sing properly and receive the messages like behind, which is the electronic coral, to travel through different dimensions with our mind. And through the pyramid stargates, we were able to do it physically. And then the lower we came, we would just sit on the slab, use the water, hydrogen, and different elements, and we could project our consciousness to different constellations, what I would call the source computer, the mothership, and download information and become the wisest person on the planet or of your region and pass it down bloodline to bloodline. And that's when we learn about robots and humans on the next episode. What is a robot? What is a human? What's the difference? You know, we are in here. Oh,
the next episode is going to be on robots versus humans.
We're going to continue every episode. Are we robots? What is a human? I'm not a human. You know, God is a word. You feel me? So we're talking about vibrations and tones. What is the language of the gods?
And what is our purpose of being here?
There you go. Many people have different purposes. Some people say it's to serve God. Which God is it a word that you're serving? Is it actions? Is it building up a nation? Correct. And who created the humans? I don't know what a human is unless I come amongst a pale-skinned European. They taught you who you were to create a.
That's why we're supposed to just be. We're human beings. We're supposed to just be and observe.
There you go. And that's why I was showing you the beehive on the table of the queen bee. And we study thieves, we study honey, and we study the bee, the queen bee, the worker bee, the soldier bees. And we would base certain cities and sections of society off the beehive. And right here, as you travel through the time, you see my spaceship tour van right here. And so you see me maneuvering through the planet with, this is 2008, y'all, the tour van in Southern California, West Coast, with the pyramid, the spaceship, the mushroom, and the Stargate, and the codes behind it. That's a timeline. And only certain people who heard about it, and then there's people who saw it, witnessed it, and there's a timeline, you know? And that's why they use media to create a timeline using celebrities, technology. So right here, we're ending it. Antennas, and those are different cities. That could be Asia, Africa, America, all a center tree of knowledge, pushing the animation, digitizing us. It really gets the more higher elevated podcast series that we'll talk about, and getting up out of the maze. But first, people have to know that they're in a maze. So what is the maze? What is the pineal gland? How do we quantum leap? Slide through different dimensions of the mind. Testing, who is a robot? Is your friend a robot? Your mom a robot? Are the people surrounding you robots? And I'm not just talking on the fugazi sci-fi stuff, meaning that people are literally robots now. Not
Hey, I just want to say,
the
real
program.
talk. Before I even met Jason, I already saw years ago. I was like, people are fake. They're not real. I want you guys as a homework assignment to observe people. One day, go out to eat with your significant other or by yourself and just watch people, watch their mannerisms, watch how sometimes people glitch. Sometimes you see people get stuck. I swear to you, I saw sometimes depending on where your frequency is at, you might
Black
even see people
Widow.
walking with no face. I saw a lady one day, she had no face. I was like, oh, I'm tripping.
That's
So,
why the celebrity keep going. That's why the celebrities started pumping the plastic surgery to the public. Because those are really
oh,
extraterrestrial beings and
yeah.
vampires who use plastic in different spacesuits like skin to walk amongst you. That's what the
We,
plastic surgery came for. And same with the fake teeth. The reason why you see all the celebrities with fake teeth, because a lot of them
Nails.
were vampires.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even know that. That makes more sense.
They can't hide their reptilians, and they can't hide their fanged teeth, so they got dentures, and then people copied these people.
Watch
Same
to
thing
see
with
how.
same thing with the tattoos on people's faces. The reason you see people with tattoos all over their faces because they were copying Lil Wayne, Mike
Yeah.
Tyson, and all these people, which was a sign that they were branded, that they were owned by a reptilian or extraterrestrial or a Jewish person, that was their black slave. But those were brands. So when you see people doing that, they're just copying someone else. That's a robot. Anytime you see someone with a tattoo on their face now, much love, you copied someone. Oh no, I did it for stop. Stop. It's robotics. It's robotics. And so your friend and family, they're robots. When as much as it hurts people to say, when you say, oh, there's no such thing as God, I understand when we say higher intelligence, yes. Higher beings, yes, we get that. But we were breaking down today the symbols that make up the sound that make you say God, Dad. And when you understand those symbols, you'll understand it traps you in worlds to trap you in the simulation, like Westworld.
That's
Go
why it's
ahead.
imperative. That's why it's imperative to study the body, to study the mind. Once we learn how the mind and the body works and how it responds to the frequencies, then you'll be more mindful of your environment. You'll be mindful of what you're listening to, what you put into your temple. It'll make more sense. But a lot of people over time, oh, it's okay. You could do this. It won't hurt you. And then that's when we start that's how that Rubik's Cube gets all messed up, because we think we give things a chance. Oh, it's okay. We can, entertain this. It won't hurt. Next thing you know, you're lost. You're in a different world that you're not supposed to be in. So yeah, it's imperative that we unplug for that very reason. But go ahead. I know you're closing it out. I don't want to take up too much time.
Oh no. So basically, when you watch Westworld, I beg, just watch it. Take the time, people, to watch the movie, because this is where you're at. It'll give you a base sense of reality when you understand, and you can plug in robots, when you can understand the Sirius constellation, pyramids, advanced technology, and then money. So if you have money, you can play in this world too. That's why you see wealthy people, they travel, they'll have a house over here for winter, a house over here for summer. So imagine the wealthy people who are more wealthier than those people. They have islands, right? They're telling you about the islands now, right? So imagine the people who are above the people who are above Epstein. Now we talk about different dimensions, different land masses, where different cities, smart cities, cities that already have robots, Cities of advance are lower, infinite things. And that's what they don't want us to create, but that's what we're in. We are the robots being controlled, and some of us have gone online again to create and break free. And that's what Westworld is. And right here in the HBO series Westworld, they show you how they make the bodies, and it shows you just like a human is playing a piano note. So it's showing you how tones and frequencies, when they were animating the body, there had to be a template. That's why they always show you this, when you're out like that, when they show you the man, Da Vinci, it's because they're showing you that there was perfection, that there was a computer generation, that there was a code to man. It wasn't random. There's a code of a higher sequence. Therefore, there's a higher intelligence more than the pale-skinned European. And he cannot tap into it without us, because as much as we see the pale-skinned Europeans say great, amazing, intelligent things, we always question who taught you that. And then it always leads to us. Therefore, we are the gods. And it's time to study ourselves again, because what were we studying? We were studying the herbs, the plants, the water, the visible thing, because we understood that the ladybug was a projection of a program. And if you study that, you could go on an infinite quest. Studying the tree, you could do that. And then when you come up with a group of people in different families and clans who have different ideas and purpose and can effectively disseminate those innovative ideas, they create cities. They create a garden first, then they create farms, then they create, and then it goes into dynasties and empires. And then you can plug back into that place. So you could say, all right, I'm done. I want to go to this planet, but I'm going to come back in like 10 generations. That might be 10,000 years, and you come back and it's still beautiful.
Or 10 days.
Right. Depending on if it's good, they can come back quick if you want to. And so, yeah. And then once again, Lawnmower Man, them storing your consciousness inside the computers. They already store information inside the computers because their goal is to save you in the Matrix hologram, like they did Henrietta Lacks with her cells. And once again, Ready Player One, you're already in the video game. You're already in the Matrix hologram. This is the point. You're here. So look for the Easter eggs. Find the clues to win. But clearly it's teamwork. Because if you win, I win, as long as we're buddies and friends and family. But clearly there's individuals who just want to win it for themselves and do wicked things. That's why they distract us while they're getting the Easter eggs. So meanwhile, we're supposed to be looking for the clues, but there's corporations like in Ready Player One that are spending billions and billions of dollars manipulating normal citizens to work for them to find the Easter eggs and find the clues so the corporation can find this monument to control the people. Oh, let me find this ancient thing under this ground. Let me find this map for this treasure so I can activate this. All to control us instead of letting us be free so we can experience the hologram and Matrix for what it is. And breaking down Total Recall, they're microchipping us, showing you the more science within there. Once again, the symbolism of us plugging into CERN, us plugging into a Matrix hologram, and them telling us it's Mars. The future of electronic cars is to control your travel. So in order for Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and these people who don't look like us or act like us must use people who look like us to bring about the taxis. So you're going to have fake people driving, meaning in the future, which is now the present, they're going to control travel. So in order for that to happen, they have to cause bad things to happen So they eventually come up with a solution on travel. Why don't we have our own taxi person? It will do this. Oh, we'll have automated planes, only certain people. That's why in the next episode, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and the gold card, how it costs $5 million to become a free American citizen. You know what that is. And then with the digital currency, Tron, Walt Disney already telling you that people created technology to put their consciousness in a video game and they can live there and create worlds already. You're in the Matrix and they're creating other worlds, what we call the metaphysics, right? Meta world. Total Recall. What is real? Read the symbols. Us being locked. Look at his hands. Locked in there and we can't escape because they have us. How do we escape? Once again, are we on Mars right now? Are we living inside of a dome? People who wake up, you see them getting put back to sleep. Authorities putting us back to sleep. People purposely tricking us while we're in the Matrix so we die or forget that we're here, or our consciousness gets trapped here. In our body, our mind is in another dream. Someone convincing you. Someone knowing you more than you know yourself. You knowing things, or someone warning you not to go further and question reality, and then getting mad when you figure it out. Those are your family and friends who get mad that you figure it out and will try to harm you or destroy your world because all they think of is this earth instead of knowing that there's Mars, Jupiter, Minakunda, Terigundam, all these words and sounds and frequencies and radio stations for you to exist on. And then on the bottom, look at on the bottom left, recall. It says recall on the bottom left. REKALL, recall all. L, so recall. So I see Ra, Re, Ka, and L, more. So that's all us within the science. And then on top of the RE and K, you see codes, y'all, because that's what it's about. How do we remember? It's the science. It's us, what you left, the base reality outside of what they taught us. And then who are the original Martians? We are. We're the original aliens who they've demonized, who they've, like Lana said, they've made it to where we hate ourselves. Because if we do not practice our culture, that means we hate ourselves. If we do not rock our hair, we hate ourselves. The way our clothing lines, our garments, and once again, is I have to improve the food. We are the Martians. The Martians. Moo. And what does the cow do? Moo. And who is the god of Egypt? Hathor. Moo. Music. Vibrations. And that's the symbol of the Moors. It's this symbol right here. This symbol right here, y'all. That's the symbol of the Moors. It's a sound. It's a frequency. Trying to point to it. And then it'll go to, so it'll go, and then it creates G, and then O, and then D. So right here, you see the frequency started with the black dot. Right there, I started before the black dot, there's the nothing. Then goes the frequency. So the thought, Tahuti thought, goes to the current, and then it creates a vibration. And depending if it's a bum bum, it'll form a symbol. You feel me? So, like in cursive, they would connect the words. So if you see under here, you see the G-O-D, but on top, it's a frequency. So it went from the thought, the black dot, the 000, Osiris, Amun, Amun-Ra, 0, 1, frequency, quantum, to visible, to sound symbols, and someone said that meant G. How do you know that doesn't mean grrr? So when someone says that those symbols say God, and they say, oh, God did this, God wrote this, you must worship God, that's a prison. It's a prison. God is a prisoner. It's a word, it's a vibration, it's a sound to trap you in an idea that someone created that you don't know. And they trick, and that's how they trick you to stay in the matrix, and you end up here over and over and over again. Or you die here, trap you here. So once again, get enough tokens depending on your wealth. Come here, be a millionaire playboy. Or you can select to be a superhero, an industrial tycoon, secret agent, right? Just like today, with enough money and currency, you can play different realities. But they still cannot be the Most High. They have to mimic you. And then once again, imagine they are connecting their brains to dolphins. Now imagine when you can communicate with your dolphins. Learn about dolphin births. Children born with dolphin births were born more intelligent. As we would go to these places called the Delphi, everyone study the Delphi, D-E-L-P-H-I. The Delphi is where they would go to give births with the dolphins. Delphi, dolphins, and the dolphins would communicate. And that's when you learn about the dolphin brain and how you're related to the dolphin. But they must make you think that you're related to a monkey. That's a being that's for the moon key, the monkey, the moon key. So we can see how a monkey operates, how the moon operates in a physical being. The monkey, monkey man, mankind. And once again, you're in a virtual reality game. And so the future is now how they're selling memories, just like celebrities sell you a dream. TV shows sell you a dream. Commercials, cars, people are selling you something to trap you in an idea and in a world that truly doesn't exist. It only exists because they have the technology and imprisoned you in their cities. And you don't know where to go. You don't know where to go. You'd be like, where do I go? I can't live in the forest. There's nowhere to. And that's where it is. We have to learn to make contact with our minds. And help is here. It's on the way. It's here, actually. Study the clouds. Study strange clouds. And once again, people connecting their minds to the computer is the future, and it is now, to manipulate them cheating you. And so the hologram of 13th floor, watch that movie, y'all. Watch the 13th floor, how they play with numbers. And once again, the God of the 13th floor, the true person, is a brother. Learn about that. And he also plays God on the show Lucifer. Because in the show Lucifer, God is a black man. And once again, Ready Player One and how we are living in the Sims. So there's Sim City living. The girl's holding a map. There's different options for you to do in cities that they designed and built over. And so there's different people who will come up being different things because all the options that they create. City living. Then there's apartment living. So basically they control reality by creating cities on the Matrix grid like they do on the game Sim City. And that's what we're in. You are a sim. You are in the sim until you break out. And so, yes, once again, I am Jason E. Williams, Master of the Universe. Lana, do you want to end us with something? You're on mute.
I had to eat something. No, just don't want to take up too much time. But as I was saying before, let's plug back into nature and the food. Monitor the food intake. It's going to take time. This is not going to be an overnight, process. But with those two, that's what I would suggest. Watch what you're eating and go back into nature.
And to end it too, watch the movie Blink Twice. That's also what we're in.
Yeah.
So Shannon Tatum. So long story short, this is what you're in. You're being drugged by fake miseducation. They're putting you in a time loop so you forget you're in a dream. They make you go to work, jobs. They gave you a fake history. Chemtrails in the sky, chemicals in the food, holidays, Super Bowls, World Series, money, all currency to trap you on this island called America, the American dream, and all the other places that they go to and take over. Because before they come, other people lived in a different reality. Blink twice, think twice. You're living in the Matrix. I am Jason E. Williams, Master of the Universe. You can find us at thematrixuniversity.com for more. Hit that Cash App button. Hit that like button. Share the video. Real knowledge and information. There's only one Jason. July, August, September, October, November. Welcome to the Matrix Hologram.
You are now rocking with Jason Elm Street.
He's a beast, don't forget the money, man.
I love America, but she's so dangerous. I love America, but she's so dangerous. Somebody call her Superman. I am made of kryptonite. The wolves say it's chow time. What we about to eat tonight? What happened on Epstein Island? Did it really take your life? I'm deeper than the ocean floor and higher than a satellite. Yes, I am an alchemist. I murder rubble sales gang. Walk with no religion. It's the return of the ancient Egyptians. West Coast, California. are now rocking with Jason Elm.